Regionalization is now the new focus. We have moving from global now to really understand what is the region and what is the best country for that specific region.
And data is everywhere. It's structured, it's unstructured. It really, in the last 20 years, kept the SaaS industry from really succeeding, like really delivering an end-to-end solution for a client.
We are not looking any longer just to automation and optimizing this task, this transactional task, but we're looking as well as how we're going to orchestrate in these agents, and eventually how agents will be managing other agents.
Technology has opened up the art of the possible of processes that was not previously possible at all. So I saw this article where it's like, do you wear the shoes first or do you wear the pants first? And then in this case, you put the shoes on and then you put the...
So it is flipping, I will say, the way of thinking of systems are there to support the well-defined processes. Now we're going to be looking at how processes needs to be defined to maximize these intelligent tools.
When you want to hire the next person, my answer to you, Suja, is I will allow you to hire AI teams. You go pick the AI teams that are going to help you be more productive, drive more dollars and efficiency into the conversation, and we can have that conversation.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Change Agents podcast. Today we have our guest, Nelly Geranton. Nelly is the head of supply chain North America for SLB Capture. Nelly Geranton brings over 2 decades of diverse global experiences. She has worked across different geographies, in particular Shanghai, London, France, and now in Houston, Texas. She began her career as a mechanical engineer. She transitioned into quality management and audit, then into sales, and now supply chain operations. Her unique blend of engineering, sales acumen, supply chain leadership give her a rare end-to-end perspective. Nelly is known for her abilities to drive savings, drive value in the supply chain, and she sums up very beautifully her value creation philosophy. When the customer benefits, everyone benefits. So with that, welcome, Nelly.
Thank you.
Welcome to the podcast as well, Jim.
Thank you.
And so Nelly, tell us about you. We'll start with you. So tell us, you were born and raised in one part of the world, you moved somewhere else, and then you moved again. So all this geographical background. So walk us through a little bit about your career.
Well, I'm born and raised from Mexico. I'm Mexican, and I started my career in France. So I have been working in different parts of the world. That includes France, Shanghai, London, and now I'm in Houston. So that really gives me a truly global lens of the supply chains. I can give you many examples on how I have learned. I started in France as a manufacturing engineer and then quality management for the manufacturing side. I think that gives detail-driven, precision, and process-oriented from the manufacturing quality perspective. Then I move in Shanghai. It's a completely different perspective, right? Every region has their complexities. It has their way of working. In China, in Shanghai, decisions were made fast. It was very agile. And I had a lot of fun in that position as a Lean Six Sigma champion. Then I moved in London. In London, I was global category managers for drilling rigs. I was part of the headquarters of that business line. That drives a lot of governance, alignment between the regions and the headquarters or the central teams. And finally, I'm here in North America, where I can see at first hand the scalable and how the supply chain make a huge impact for the business. So all that blend between regional and global insight is what I bring in my daily work. I think it's important that in our supply chain we see a lot of understanding on global business systems, and we utilize these global systems at the same time we perform locally. We adapt those at the cultural and at the actual region or local situation.
That's amazing, Nelly. Not many people can speak with that kind of a background, so it's amazing to hear your story. How many languages do you speak?
I speak Spanish, French, and English.
Phenomenal. How about you, Jim?
English and Texan.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you. So, Nelly, as a part of your global career, how did you pick the cultural nuances? So, it is one thing is the geography. Another thing is the local work culture, behaviors, decision-making approaches. You mentioned things were moving so fast in China that you were adapting to that. So maybe give us some examples of how somebody aspiring to a global career can learn from somebody like you.
Yeah, I was just mentioning to Jim, actually, how did I move from a mechanical engineer, manufacturing engineer to supply chain? And the reality is just happened to be there. And I was manufacturing engineer in France, talking to the French suppliers. And then we needed to develop different supply base in Mexico. And I speak Spanish, and that's my background. So having that blend of just language skills, understanding the product, and having the nuance of the one region versus the other one was the perfect blend to deploy it at that moment of time. And then I moved to supply chain and started my career as a sourcing specialist, global supplier manager, category manager. Now I'm the head of supply chain for North America.
Very adaptable. So it's not just that you've moved around geographies, you've also moved functions and roles. How did you navigate that? And how did you had to pick up skills on the fly. So how did you manage that?
I think the trust that is given and the empowerment on each of the different roles is the key actually to succeed. When I went to China, I just started to know what is the Lean Six Sigma champion. So I went to train, and suddenly I was really the master black belt, and I had to train the green belts and the black belts. It is the willingness to learn, to keep curious, to keep knowing and understanding what is nice. Every time I change a role, I learned something else.
I always think curiosity is the other side of the coin of humility. So when people that are humble, they're not afraid to ask questions, and there is curiosity, which is the only way especially when you're navigating such a cross-functional career in a very large company. It's not like you are part of small businesses. It's like a giant, complex global businesses with different focus areas. So supply chains in the last several years, for sure, but certainly in the last year, have gone through quite a bit of a change, volatility, quite a bit of a chaos, one could say. How do you navigate this global versus, we all did things certain way, but those rules don't apply anymore. There are new norms that are developing. So as a leader in this space, and how do you manage that?
Let me tell you a story. 15 years ago, or more than 15 years ago, I was part of this global strategy and setting up facilities outside of Shanghai. Very remote, isolated location, meaning I will have to bring my lunch, or there is nowhere to go and buy a lunch. That's my definition of remote. We will bring, everybody will come in a bus. Somebody will open the door of the facility for everybody to walk in. That image really stuck into my mind as the starting of something that will be very big. That is more than 15 years ago. Right now, everything is connected, right? There's no more remote or anything. Everything evolved and so on. And from that, I see the industry as well, all connected. We all have cell phones, smartphones, and so on. That connectivity is great, right? Then we need to understand the nuances and the culture of each of these regions. What is the drivers? How that culture impacts your operations, how that way of working can be or not make a difference or an impact into the actual delivery of your product. So that is the shift that I see is happening as well in the industry, right? We're moving now with all these barriers and trade barriers is creating some blocks. You can see and think US, China, and the rest. And right now we need to focus on this regionalization. What is going to be the best country to supply to each region? let's say the Americas, for the Americas, which this country will be in the new realities that we have. Regionalization is the new imperative. Regionalization is now the new focus. We have moving from global now to really understand what is the region and what is the best country for that specific region.
And how sometimes the rules of the road are changing quite dynamically. You're assessing the scenarios based on cost. You're assessing the scenarios based on service, right? Whether you're going to, or even basic accessibility, availability of inventory. How do you manage some of these changes with the required resilience, but also with the timeliness? Because things, you still have a deliverable that you commit to your customers. So to your earlier point on when the customer wins, everybody wins. How do you manage these scenario changes from global to regional with the required adaptability?
That is a very important question, and I think that is one of the key values that the supply chain brings, right, is the selection of your supplier base. The key part of a supply chain is the ability to deliver. The moment you are able to deliver something that the competitors cannot deliver, you are setting up apart. That is your competitive advantage. And the way you navigate these changes between, global or regional is understanding what is the best country that will be for your specific region in the conditions that you have. What is your customer preference? What are the new tariffs coming in play? What are the different vendors' capabilities that we can develop? And developing of those supplier base is what makes you to be cost competitive and to be the resilient and the ability to win contracts as well, right? If you have the ability to deliver, that can set you apart. So
That's right. Jim, do you want to add something there? What are you seeing in the market? How are you?
No, I think Nelly hit it earlier in the globalization versus regionalization. And in our company, we're selling a solution globally. All of our brands are global that we serve. Yet, as we were talking about earlier today, I now have to regionalize how I approach each region, right? They're not the same. The customer demand is different in each geography, or maybe it's each mode. But I have to literally tailor the solution at a regional level. Yet they're buying a global contract from me, right? And they expect global discount, but then there's extra service and things that I have to deliver that's different, region by region. Big change, like you said.
Yeah, it's been quite interesting seeing the change from global for local to global for regional, global for local for regional. So there's all kinds of shifts that are happening, and companies that have the most responsiveness and ability to play the scenarios are the ones that are winning. So supply chain we all expected supply chain to just function, right? It was somewhat buried in the back office. You talked more about commercial and sales and revenue and in general a lot about people. Supply chain is up front and center of a business conversation. So in that context, what does value creation mean for you in a supply chain as a supply chain leader?
I think it's securing the ability to deliver. That is everything. Meaning that you can create the competitive advantage in your market just by the ability to deliver certain products at certain time. That ability of supplier management and the scalability is the way you can also win contracts. So supply chain is now, how I see it, the driver of growth that gives you resilience as well in operations. And that drives as well the sustainability part. I want to say it's sustainability. I'm really passionate about sustainability and new energy and clean energies. I studied sustainability, business sustainability management, and I see how AI and data centers are shifting the energy demand, right? Sure. As we know, the new energy mix will be key and critical to have this digitalization as we accelerate this digitalization. As we talk about digitalization, I would like to share my view on how I see that is going to be changing in the supply chain. For me, it's going to be a complete different shift from managing processes to managing agents. And by agents, I mean the actual AI-powered tools, intelligent tools that will be able to create sourcing exercise, sourcing events, right. Managing the purchase orders. We are not looking any longer just to automation and optimizing this transactional task, but we're looking as well as how we're going to orchestrate in these agents and eventually how agents will be managing other agents. So it is flipping, I will say, the way of thinking of systems are there to support the well-defined processes. Now we're going to be looking at how processes needs to be defined to maximize these intelligent tools.
That's right.
So it's a bit of a flip on what we see.
Well said. Well said.
very well said.
Because there is still some people worried about, let's map out the best process, then we will put the technology behind it. I think your thinking is bang on. That's how we think. And technology has opened up the art of the possible of processes that was not previously possible at all. I saw this article where it's like, do you wear the shoes first or do you wear the pants first? And then in this case, you put the shoes on and then you put the clothes on, which is different from what we are used to, but potentially that could become the new norm. Touch on it a little bit. Sustainability, renewable energy has gone through a bit of a cyclical change, right? It's still very big in different parts of the world, but in certain parts of the world, maybe it's not a priority. So how do you see that impacting your business? And how are you sort of capitalizing on still where it's a major priority? Where is it going? What percentage, if it was your bet, if it was your looking glass, what percentage of the total energy would be renewable, new energy versus regular fossil fuel type of energy, or maybe nuclear?
The exact percentage, I don't know, so I will cut this part. Sure. But
roughly, directionally.
Yeah, it's very regional as well. You can see China, the way they are improving amazingly in terms of solar. They are the ones who has technology, and they have the ones that manufacturing the solar panels and the energy, that clean energy that comes with it. And solar is always paired with energy storage. They have as well the technology and the ability to do the energy storage. China, in terms of doubling and tripling their capacity and ability to do it, then you have other parts of the world like Europe that has the blend, I will say it, on having government putting the stick in taxes to monetize and to have carbon or nuclear and so on. I will say Europe is not as abundant, I will say, as in the US for natural resources, solar and particularly solar and wind. In the US, especially Texas, now we talk Texan here.
We did, yes.
There's a huge production of solar and wind. I think it's one of the major ones. So when you compare the US production on solar and wind, it's almost at the pair of many other countries in just Texas, just the state, and many other countries in Europe. So yes, there are many changes as I don't want, this is not a podcast, I don't want to talk about, the legislation changes,
But you think the journey is on, the journey will continue, and it could be a regionally segmented journey.
The journey is on, and we don't need only one type of energy. We need an energy mix, and that is what will be critical for all the hyperscalers, right? They need a humongous amount of energy for data centers, for all this AI we were discussing, for these agents of change, right? Yep. So where is that energy coming from? Needs to be a mix. Yes.
Got it. So this is your passion, and this is where you focus your energy on. So tell us about you work with a lot of suppliers. So when suppliers speak to you, what brings value when in you're assessing suppliers on different metrics? And cost is not the only metric, right? You're assessing them on, you were telling us that you go pretty detailed in terms of looking at how to score and weight different suppliers. What does a value from a supplier mean to you, and how does co-innovation play a role there?
The value needs to be given on the whole value chain. What is going to drive an impact to the customer, to the actual project? So we need to link that customer centricity and have that gap between, commercial goals and operational excellence and operational realities. When you bridge those goals is when you understand, right, what is the reality on operations that will bring to the actual project. So the value that brings from suppliers, for me, the way to get the best value from a supplier is to have a transparent communication from our team, from a supply chain, from operations, have that clearly understanding of the overall goals, the goals of the project, and then communicate that and translate that to the overall chain. So when we make any changes, we understand what is the impact on the other one, or which changes we need to bring so we have a positive impact to the project. That is the value I see. I give you an example on supplier management, right? 15 years ago, or maybe more like between 10, 15 years ago, I was a global supplier manager for a service that was providing services in a rig. And as you know, rig is every time on the rig counts a lot of money. So every minute that you can save on the rig, you save money. I start seeing certain patterns, from one region to the other one. I saw there is an issue, there is a pattern. So I put my lean hat and we organized a lean manufacturing, Lean Six Sigma type of workshop. I brought the suppliers, I brought operations,
nice.
And then understand really what is happening. At the end, it boils down to communication, how the vendor was able to see only one part of what is the requirement and how us were assuming certain parts that is it. Communication was basic. It cost zero to the supplier, cost zero to us, and had a huge benefit on competitiveness and for us, for your company, and as well, a huge value for the customer by reducing the non-productive time on a rig. That is what supplier management drives value, is driving, getting those tools and having that supplier management.
That is such an outstanding example in so many different ways. It brings to bear your cross-geographical exposure and the global view. It brings to bear your cross-functional expertise and being able to bring different teams together. And of course, it puts the emphasis on communication, collaboration, being the easiest to do business with. So that is a great example. And also the precision, right? So this is what the customer needs, the rig and the environment, and a clear understanding of what the customer needs. So that's a phenomenal example. Thank you for that, Nelly. Maybe you can continue the theme of the cross-functional example. Maybe you can tell us more as to where those cross-functional collaboration elements break down, what could be the impacts, where does it work well, and therefore it is better. So can you give us more examples in that same vein?
Yes, absolutely. So as you know, I was in SaaS just prior to this role, and now I'm in supply chain after many jobs in supply chain. So I believe I have this 360-degree view on the business, right? I'm on this side of the table wearing the customer hat and my supply chain, but I've been on somebody else's shoes right there in front of on the table, as a supplier,
Right.
on my selling hat. So the ability to put in somebody's shoes is great. And that brings this bridge the gap as well on how we can communicate better, how can together collaborate, and as you were mentioning, right, drive innovation. The innovation happen in many different ways. Innovation can come from, these workshops, this conversation, having this meeting. The more we interact with the vendors, the better it is. We need to move away from just transactions, send the RFQ, and then put me the price. It's trying to understand and explain as well, what is your project? What are you looking for? What are the different cost drivers or impacts that will be the timelines of it. The more transparency and communication we have with the vendors or suppliers, the more innovation can have a role. Innovation can happen as well on collaboration. You can have a specific technology that you want to develop. So sometimes just having that alignment in the long term, you want to ensure that it's not only on the short term, but in the long term, you are driving on the same path together. Yeah. Then there are investments, then there are communication in the long term. And that becomes partners, and that becomes GVs and so on. But it really starts from that communication and innovation.
Brilliant, brilliant. So it's not just when you collaborate with your suppliers, it's not just for this project. It's for let's continue the journey on in a long term, with the long term view, with a longer game plan. Suppliers bring value in many different ways. So Nelly, in your case, what do you think about this whole end-to-end value chain and each piece interlinked with each other? And what does value mean to you?
Yeah, I value it's critical on every step, right? What value is what the supplier will have an impact to the end, to the project and to the customer, but also the value of competitiveness. It is important that we clearly understand that the suppliers needs to remain competitive. So your company remains competitive. So your customer and your project are competitive and sustainable, right? So we are looking at business sustainability. When you have a competitiveness at your supplier base, you are also striving to get the best out of that and pushing to get creative ways to bring value. And one of those is by pushing to get competitive. Mm-hmm. So competitiveness with our suppliers, I see it more a way to be creative on how we can overall reduce the total cost of the project. It's not about squeezing suppliers. It's really about how we can work together in a competitive environment.
What a brilliant answer. I think if somebody is working with you or for you, they better stay competitive, right? That's the message I'm getting. So which is sharp and top of the game and looking at the end-to-end value and every step of it, they are staying on top of things, right? Let's go back to the digital and technology topic. As you look at the industry, where do you see the industry doing well in general, right? Where do you see the industry doing well in terms of capabilities, data, tools? And we'll go to agentic, right? That's there, early stages and coming and more to come. But where do you see the current state of the industry and how do you think the industry is positioned to get engaged with AI? How are the data foundations? To your point, the process versus, you don't need to have perfect process before you jump into technology. So maybe give us a lay of the land of what is in the industry today. And how do you see this roadmap pan out as everybody in all industries and then also in general in your industry move ahead with AI and agentic AI?
So I think in general in the industry we're moving, I think we have gone through the automation, task automation. Now from task automation, we're moving into actually having this partner, now is almost your colleague. You need to be managing this Jim and the agent.
That's exactly right.
We were talking just before in sales and how it's actually happening in sales. Yep. How I see is coming into the industry as well. There is also a cost of entry, right? There is infrastructure, there is the cloud, there is the building of it. So there is an entry barrier. It's not, I don't see this like right now that it's happening, but over the time, the adoption will happen even more. As everything in cost goes down. That is the way I see the industry is going, and to maximize these AI tools and maximize it and not having just as a way of optimization, but really getting into part of your own processes and how you work. Yes.
What are you seeing, Jim? You work with different...
Great question. So you hit the nail on the head. For me, it's data. And data is everywhere. It's structured, it's unstructured. It really, in the last 20 years, kept the SaaS industry from really succeeding, like really delivering an end-to-end solution for a client, right? So for us now, with agentic, when we leverage the use of AI, we can get to all the data. You may have a data lake. You may still have it sitting in email. You may have it sitting in someone's head or standard operating procedure. We can bring all of that in, ingest all of that, and learn off that, and then run a different standard operating procedure, and different processes come from that. But now they're all connected to the data. And so that is the key. We'll go in now as a supplier and get to do a workshop in the sales cycle of where is the data? How do we get to all the data? Let us ingest some of your data early on in the sales cycle to show you what benefit comes from letting agents train and look at that data. It's game changing. It really is. It's been a huge difference. But it still will wait some days, weeks to get the data. Sometimes it's been 3 months before we get access to all the data because the customer doesn't have the connectivity, doesn't know where it all lies and exists. Even if I just say, I want your invoices. Well, invoices sit all over the world in all different types of formats. And so just getting the right invoice per region, we just need one. Give me one rate card, right? Give me one shipment. It is a difficult task to get by region, across the globe. So I love the way you're working with suppliers like us, bringing us in to workshop, letting us become a partner, right? Not just a vendor, but for me, it's getting access to the data.
And I know as way to manage data quality. In the enterprise, data quality gets talked about quite a bit, almost like an impediment, almost like a deal breaker to get started. But I know product and your capabilities, you have abilities to manage and work through data quality.
That's correct.
That it's not even an issue, which is possible today with Gen AI.
That's exactly right.
And agentic AI. So maybe can you talk about that? Like from the point of starting a deployment at a company to when you have a product that is fully running in production, a fully capability in production, how long does it take? And in particular, how do you address data quality?
Great question, long question. I would say we run the projects in phases now. We used to come in and say, we'll blueprint the entire thing. Success is a year out. Now how do we get to success in 2 to 3 weeks? Let's ingest the data that would get us to success in 2 to 3 weeks. Give me an invoice and a rate card. I'll just use one example around freight audit. If we can get that, we can start doing two-way matching. A month in, 6 weeks in, 2 months in, bring us the shipment data. Now let's start getting to three-way matching. So it's just evolving, and again, back to getting access to the data. Once the data is there, the agents are working 24/7, whereas the humans were checking in 8 to 5. Things are written on paper. The agent has everything available as long as we've connected the data to start making those decisions. And it just makes things go a lot faster. Time to value becomes key. Now you can go to the CFO and say, we're now matching two ways. We're doing it in a matter of 3 weeks. That was unheard of in the past. We'd spend 6 months trying to get all the data, trying to get all the regions, all the modes into the system before we could say, let's go live. So Agentic's given us the ability to change that.
And you're also able to map if the data is inconsistent across the data set, the other emails. It's not just that you're dealing with transaction data. Yeah. You're dealing with the emails and the voicemails. And,
all the
and
unstructured data gets pulled in.
And you're converting that into something that is transactable.
That's correct.
And all that is part of this time frame that you're talking
That's correct.
about.
Yeah, we build what we call a supply chain knowledge graph, which is detailed a semantic layer that with your data, we train the agents on that. Training, for instance, you give us that data early on in the sales cycle. 2 or 3 days in, I can give you a contextual demo with your data. Unheard of in the past. I would have Figma, I would have fake data, but now I have real customer data. And I can be in the middle of a demo and say, Nelly, send me 5 invoices right now. Haven't seen them, haven't brought them into the system. Send them to the email at whatever company, and we'll ingest those and immediately turn them into an invoice for you. It's quite impressive.
I'm impressed when you guys told me that you now use customer data during a sales conversation, which is outstanding.
It is.
So Nelly, from your point of view, what kind of people changes do you anticipate in your organization? What kind of mindset changes? I always think data and AI we talk a lot more about the technology, tools, process data, and AI models, etc., and we must. But it's also about people and mindset and thinking differently and doing differently, accepting and willing to explore different things. And I know we talked about curiosity before. So how do you anticipate the leadership roles leaders would have to play, leaders such as you would have to play in terms of leading the organization through such changes?
That's a great question. And I do see like the new generation that it's embedded with AI is the facility and the ability to use AI, and not only AI, but all the tools is to do everything more efficient, but not only get into this is the way of working, but be open to how we're going to be evolving. It's going to be such a rapid change, is going to be evolving. So the qualities of the people will be this open mind, curiosity, and embrace the change because it's common. So I just say new generation, it's already embedded into it. They have it. They know how to use it. It is in their DNA almost. That is where we need to go. Every layer into organizations, right?
Grab the change agents, build the organization from the bottom, and take advantage of the fact that these people are coming in as AI natives, right? I was reading, there was a factoid that showed up in my feed today. People were getting health information from social media. Do you get your health information from social media?
Not anymore. A little bit.
So it's shifting rapidly to AI.
Yeah.
So it's almost
That's where we're going now.
Customer preferences for commerce, for retail purchases, for health-related information, and for business change management is moving towards AI. And one of your points is get the AI natives and get them in and get them be the part of the change agents.
I think the other thing I would add is the existing workforce, right? We're not all coming in Gen AIers, right? We're not, especially me sitting here in the room. What I've heard, I just ran a panel a couple of weeks ago at American Supply Chain Summit, and we had two executives on the stage, and the question was, how are you preparing your teams for AI? And they said, well, we both just came back from 8-week courses on AI and leadership, and how do we develop our people on AI? And the real result was, you can take all the courses you want. The real answer was, when you want to hire the next person, my answer to you, Suja, is I will allow you to hire AI teams. You go pick the AI teams that are going to help you be more productive, drive more dollars and efficiency into the conversation, and we can have that conversation. But don't come to me. So they're literally saying, halt freezing, take the people you have, but then if you need any additional people, if you can't retrain those to use AI, then go hire AI teams, which I thought was a very interesting approach, because it's going to force folks like us that are not, Gen AIers out of school right now to go develop and learn AI. So,
yeah, embrace, right?
Embrace it.
The general hiring freeze, you're hearing that pretty much in most companies, right?
Yeah.
Let's become a common theme. And then, okay, how do you then drive growth? How do you drive scale? How do you drive throughput? It's got to be with some form of agentic, which is the context-enabled automation. To your earlier point, it's not just the automation we are used to, but it's the context-enabled. Plus also in the physical world, it's robotics and humanoids. Let's bring back the conversation to where we started. You're all about value. That's a common theme that keeps coming up in everything you speak. So it's supply chain is not about just sourcing. It's not just about relationships. It's not just about transportation. The value from supply chain is more than all of that. It's the whole is bigger than the sum of the parts. So maybe we will get to how you see that value creation in supply chain as you bring it all together.
So the way I see the value creation from the supply chain is the ability to deliver. The ability to deliver is everything. And the way you create that ability to deliver is exactly what you mentioned, right? Is the foundation of having the right supply base, selecting the right suppliers, having this communication, internal communication, and with the customer, have a customer centricity, have the processes that enable to maximize these intelligent tools, right? At the purchase order, at the logistics, and to deliver. But it's not into a silo constant, just looking at what is optimizing in front of you. It's reviewing what is the value chain, how that overall impact your customer. But it's how one decision can affect the other one. So understanding that value chain, I think, is the critical component on bringing it all together.
Outstanding. Jim, can you share with us how is thinking about this from a sourcing, procurement, spend management perspective?
Yeah, I think you talked earlier about supplier management, supplier risk, and I think bringing the supplier to the table is a huge differentiation. Companies that I go into now, for instance, that everybody has RFPs. We've always had RFPs to purchase stuff for supply chain. But the smart companies are bringing the partners in early and having discussions around it. It's not just, here's a thing, fill out 500 questions and we'll pick a winner. It's very much value driven. What are you going to deliver in agentic? What are you going to do with helping with my data problem? What do you know about my market and my end customer? So for instance, we have brought in industry experts to the team over the last year and a half. So we've hired operators out of supply chain, like Nelly would come in, that you would be in our sales cycle with our customers to talk value, to go in and have the workshops and talk about business process reengineering or change management. Once you have this new tool, how do I make it work, again, by region, et cetera? So those are the differences that I see from a from a vendor perspective.
We're close to Halloween, so I'm just going to throw out a curveball question. So are you all dressing up for Halloween? Or?
Of course, I'm married to a lady that loves Halloween.
So what's your costume?
Well, I don't know yet. So last year we showed up at the party as Batman and Catwoman. So I have no idea.
It's only 2 days, man. And you don't know your costume, or your partner has selected it.
She has selected it. It is a
You
surprise
just don't know
for me.
what it is.
Don't know. Last year we had 2 options. We show up with one, and Nitin took the other one that we didn't use.
No kidding.
So we'll see.
Oh, that would be. I need that photo of Nelly.
Oh yeah, we'll get it for you.
And how about you, Nelly? Are you celebrating Halloween? What are you doing?
We do celebrate Halloween. We reuse every year the same costumes. My husband is really not into buying much.
Sustainability?
Yeah, sustainability. It is at the core of our family for sure. I will be again a Wonder Woman or a witch, so perhaps a mix.
That's great. How about you, Suja?
Oh, no costumes for me. No costumes
costumes
for me. Probably we will cheer the kids that are coming in.
Oh yeah.
And then we'll have a bunch of candy. That's I think I put on a costume once in my entire life.
You and I are so much alike. I did too until I got remarried, and now it's 3 years and 3 costumes. So it's not going to stop this year. We'll see what the surprise is. I'll let you know.
Very good.
Superb. This has been fantastic. Nelly, thank you. Pleasure. Thank you for joining us in this podcast. Great insights. Many people will find value from your career journey and the perspectives that you offered. And Jim, thank you. Thank you for sharing your views.
Glad to be here.
On behalf of freehand.ai. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.